Hi. Thank you all for being here with us tonight. Hold on, let me just set all my stuff down. Thanks, Amy, Kim, and Ron for making this event possible. I'm so honored to be here with my wonderful co-panelists, or I guess they're panelists. I'm the moderator. Let me tell you who they are. We'll start with Molly Tolsky. She's worked in digital media for over a decade with a special interest in building inclusive Jewish communities online. At 70 Faces Media, she's the editor of Kveller, a thriving community of parents raising Jewish kids, snap for Kveller, and the founding editor of Hey Alma, a culture site and robust online community for people in their teens, 20s, and 30s looking to unpack their Jewish identities. Molly, come on up. And in our middle seat, we have Matthew Segal. He's co-founder and co-CEO of Attention, a media company that bridges entertainment with topical issues to explain the world around us. Since launching Attention in 2014, he has built the company's content operation into an award-winning global media brand that was recently sold to Candle Media. He has been instrumental in spearheading Attention's partnerships with TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, ABC News, Apple, and HBO to launch premium video in a variety of original formats. He's also a seasoned interviewer himself and has grilled everyone from President Joe Biden to Bono. Come on up, Matthew. And Tova Friedman was born in 1938 in Poland and is among the youngest people to survive the Holocaust, in which more than 150 members of her family were murdered. Tova arrived in the United States when she was 12, and she ultimately met her husband, raised a family, and worked as a therapist and social worker. She continues to share her story with students and audiences at schools, colleges, and places of worship all over the country. Her most recent turn is as TikTok celebrity, where she has more than 500,000 followers, and where she posts regularly about her life and experiences. Tova, come on up. The first thing I'm going to do is actually take a selfie of us, which feels in line with, with our theme tonight. I'm very professional. Okay, so welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
I'm like starstruck sitting next to you. I love it. So let's get started with a few questions for all of you, and then we'll sort of drill down into the specific work that each of you do. But let's just, I'm going to start with you, Molly, but I'm going to ask this for all of you. Why is it important for Jewish storytellers to find new digital platforms to talk about the Jewish experience?
Sure. Well, thank you, first of all, to everyone here for being here, and thank you, Stephanie, for moderating, and my fellow panelists. I think especially if you're trying to reach a younger audience, you need to be where they are spending their time. And if anyone's ever been around anybody truly all ages at this point, but especially a younger person, they're on their phone nonstop. And so, media has always had to adapt to find the people where they are and adapt formats and adapt the types of stories that are being told. So for me in my work, especially with Hey Alma, trying to reach younger Jews, I knew that we had to go directly to where they were spending their time, which is largely social media. For us, it's specifically Instagram is our biggest platform because that's where we found that audience was mostly navigating to. So yeah, it just feels like a no-brainer in a way for anyone reaching a younger audience.
Matthew?
I agree with that. You got to go where the people are. They're on social media.
I like that. That was like the shortest answer a Jewish person has ever given to a question, so I appreciate that.
Our company, Attention, we really try to be concise.
Yes.
Tailored for short attention span. So she said it well. I agree.
All right, Tova, what do you have to say?
Since I didn't hear everything she said, I can now say it
Do it.
myself. Our young people, I've had 8 grandchildren, but they're all very Jewish. However, their friends who are Jewish know nothing about Judaism. So they are completely disconnected. They never had to think about Judaism. They were just born Jewish, and that's it. Antisemitism woke them up. Do you know some of the young college students are shocked they never experienced. Their parents didn't experience. I'm not even sure that their grandparents experienced it. So they are sort of lost, and it's our job to help them. And in order to have, we need them to listen to who they really are to help them. We need to help them identify. Because, you know, without an identity, you're going to have a terrible time in any country with anti-Semitism. I know I experienced it myself, so that my knowledge and my strength and my love of Judaism makes it easier for me to handle the anti-Semites. And this is what I try to do, to not only to reach non-Jews, but to reach Jews who are lost right now, the young people.
I think that's a great lead into our next question, which I'll ask all of you, but I'll start with you, Tova. What motivated you to sort of jump into the fray and get involved on social media?
Well, I must tell you, I know nothing about social media. I'm not the age where I tell my private stories on Facebook. I don't even want my neighbors to know anything. Why would I want to know a whole world to know about me? So, but my grandson, at that time he was 16, we had Shabbat dinner in his house. His mom is here. And he said to me, Sapta, Grandma, would you like to give me 2 minutes? I give him any time, more than 2 minutes. He said, just let's sit down and I'll tape something on my phone. I didn't know what he was talking about. He said something about TikTok, and I thought it was a company for chocolate or something. So I what should I say? Anything. Just give your name and say you're a Holocaust survivor. That's very easy. So I did it. I told them. And then he said, just 1 or 2 more sentences, because the people who are listening won't listen more than 2 minutes, exactly what you said. I said, oh, okay, you know, I'm a talker, so I have to be very careful. So I said it, and then he said something very strange to me. Don't expect many people to listen. And I was saying, many people listening to what? And we forgot all about it. An hour later, he comes back, he says, you've got hundreds and hundreds of people listening to you, and they have questions. And that's how it started. I had no idea about the process. It was sort of almost like a miracle on a Friday night.
I love that, a Shabbat miracle. Matthew, what inspired you to create Attention?
Long story, but in essence, how to take important topical issues and get people to pay attention to them. And you have to be really innovative and clever with how you package stories, how you break down complex issues, how you get people to care. And I like to say, our core skill set that has helped us last and grow over a decade into a meaningful media company has been our skill set of putting delicious chocolate on sometimes vegetables. Now, there's a lot of issues that we've cared about editorially, topically, and very near and dear to my heart as the founder of the company has been fighting anti-Semitism, fighting Jew hate. There's been a lot of different ways that we've told that story. I've been honored to produce content with Tova in a variety of different formats, both for television and for TikTok, to bring the story of Holocaust survivors to younger audiences. But in essence, the goal of what we do is to package topical information in more palatable and digestible ways for people across the platforms they live, which today are more TikTok and Instagram. Years ago, they were more Facebook and YouTube, but it's all those socially distributed platforms. But we also program on television, on streaming, kind of wherever audiences are. But this topic in particular, what we're talking about tonight, has been very near and dear to me, and we've built a lot of programming around different angles of fighting anti-Semitism, which we'll get to, I'm sure.
Yeah. Molly?
I come from a writing background, so I'm a writer, and I honestly first found my way into the Jewish digital media space kind of accidentally. When I was in grad school, I needed a job, and I found a paid internship for a soon-to-be-launched Jewish parenting site. I was in my early 20s at the time and not a parent, but again, it was a paid internship, so I applied and got it, and that's what became Kveller. And so I got my start there, just sort of learning what it meant to be an editor and what it means to work in the editorial space. And then I did that for much longer than I thought. After grad school, I continued to work there full time. And then at a certain point, I found myself thinking about, Feller became this amazing community for young Jewish parents who were dealing both with becoming a parent and also how do you instill Judaism into your kids. And it also just became a place, especially for Jewish women, to connect and to have a group of like-minded people online. And I started to think about, I want that, but I'm not a parent, and what would it look like to create that for people a little bit younger? And that's when I started to think about what eventually became Hey Alma. And really for me, it was, I think anyone who's worked in maybe the Jewish nonprofit space, you hear a lot about kind of this fear that young Jews are not engaged as much as the older generations. They don't belong to synagogues as much. They're not involved in Jewish organizations in more kind of official ways. And so I think a lot of people took that to mean that they don't care about being Jewish, and that wasn't my experience, and that wasn't my friends' experiences that I was seeing. I think it just looks differently now. And so I kind of took that and wanted to create an online community, again, online, because that's where I felt like people are and where they can be reached, to sort of make it a radically inclusive one where people who might feel like they aren't welcome in a synagogue space because of XYZ, or they can't afford to be involved in that way, but want to talk about what it means to be Jewish and how it fits into your everyday life as one of your many identities. That's the kind of space that I wanted to create and have those conversations. And so that's ultimately what led to Hey Alma.
I love that. So, Tova, what's interesting is that the idea of Holocaust video testimony is not a new one, right? We all, since Spielberg and the Shoah Foundation, we are accustomed to seeing that. But there is something about putting it on TikTok or on Instagram that feels revolutionary. And I guess I just want to ask you, were there hesitations, or what was going through your mind as you sort of make the decision, okay, we do this one video, now we're going to do more, now we're going to do more? I mean, did it feel like it was the same line of things that sort of survivors had been doing? You've been telling your story?
No.
Or did it feel totally different?
I've been telling my story mostly to Jews. And, some of them know, some more, and they were not that young. Sometimes I'd go to schools, but this was a completely different experience. First of all, it's very short. So you only have a certain amount of time because you have to get their attention immediately. And that for me was very interesting because I'm, a middle, a beginning, and an end. I'm a storyteller, but you can't do a story here. You have to sort of say in about, I think, maybe less than half a minute. Or they scroll. Now I'm scrolling also. I know how to do that, You go to different things. So I have to there was a challenge. What was also wonderful is to work with my grandson, Aaron. Aaron was 16, and he looked around his school, this is what he told me, and nobody even heard of Auschwitz. And he goes to a nice school in Morristown. Believe it or not, the Lubavitches is the center of the Lubavitch people. So there are lots of Jews around. His school, maybe 10 blocks away from, the kids knew nothing about it. So it was a terrific challenge to engage young non-Jews. And how do I know that I engage them? Their questions. They had so many excellent questions. Some talked to me, some typed, some asked Aaron, and he answered them to save me not to do the answering. It became an exchange of young people from all over the world, not Jewish. And they asked, they were like, really? This really happened? And of course, I have some pictures showing. When they saw my tattoo, that one day, I think I had 90 million viewers.
Wow,
That's a lot of viewers.
a lot of people.
Mostly not Jewish, from all over the world.
Amazing.
So first, I feel that our story is there out now. Excuse me, because the story isn't just my story. I feel I represent the 1.5 million children that have been murdered. And I'm here, and now I give my testimony to other young people, and they run with it. So it's a very, very interesting thing. And I really think I'm very grateful to my grandson.
What I love about this is that you've shifted to full TikToker because you're filming vertically now, right? Like, you know what you're doing. Like, there's really, it's amazing, right? Like, you really are commanding this medium. And there's a comment on that video where someone writes, "We learned about you and read your book in my class." And I think that something about that makes me realize it's all part of a cycle, right? They see your book, or they learn about the Holocaust, they read it, maybe they connect with it. Then they see you in this space, as we've said, that they live their lives, right?
You know,
and it becomes so much more real.
It was wonderful. We got not only young people contact us, but teachers from all over the world. There was a woman from someplace in Australia, a teacher. She gave me some name of a little town that I don't think anybody ever heard of. She has never met or seen or heard a survivor. And she got this, and she asked permission to show it in her class. I thought it was amazing. And then people from Bulgaria, people from India. I'm talking about adults, teachers. Wow. And it's just, you know, as I said, we tried to tell the story when we all came from Europe. Nobody wanted to hear anything. And now, just before, you know, just before I leave this earth, you know, it's being heard. By the way, I'll tell you, there was a woman who just died today. Yeah. You know who she is? She died also from TikTok. Yeah.
Retell us.
Well, I watch other people's TikToks, and her grandson, Dov, I don't remember her name, it's from England. He was wonderful. He interviewed his grandmother. He had a great sense of humor. He was very smart. They were a great team together about Europe, about Auschwitz, she was 100 and she died today. So there are not that many of us left. And now all these, I hope, this new generation of Jews and not Jews will continue with the story.
That's a perfect place to talk about attention and this idea that this issue of anti-Semitism, as you say, Jew hate, which is like a much better word, by the way, and it's like, it's short, it's zippy, I get exactly what it is. But that's something that's a passion of yours, and it really, it comes through in the content you create.
Yeah, I mean, we've tried to get to it from a lot of different angles. I mean, but the common approach is, of course, first education. I mean, education is what helps eviscerate all forms of hate, ultimately, and ignorance is what causes hate. But we've done work on Holocaust education, but we've also done a lot of work on how anti-Semitism is this unique societal illness that can emerge on both the right and the left. And right now we're seeing the far left and the far right converging to marginalize Jewish people, marginalize the state of Israel in an incredibly disturbing way. And we've tried to find different narrators, different spokespeople who can speak personally, like Tova, or from a policy standpoint with gravitas, whether that's like Governor Schwarzenegger or Tony Blinken or other people with whom we've made videos, to explain to mass audiences how to spot anti-Semitism, some of the canards and ways that anti-Semitism has come alive throughout society, and how to take the lessons of Jewish hatred, whether that's from the Holocaust or other chapters of our history, and be an ally. And then also, human nature is fragile and fickle, which is one of the lessons from the Holocaust that you can articulate far more wisely than I can. But, you know, one of the things that was just told to me by some people at the U.S. Holocaust Museum was that some of the very same people who hid Jews during the Holocaust, the first few years of the Holocaust, were the same people who outed them and turned them in to the SS and the Nazis just a few years in. And so that none of us are really immune to that societal pressure. None of us are immune to media pressure, political pressure, groupthink in a way that's impervious to horrible atrocity. And so we've tried to imbue that perspective through, of course, pithy, clever, short-form storytelling, because unfortunately people have short attention spans. But we've been effective at it, and we hope to be a lot more effective at it. And I'm, still starstruck and so grateful that Tova is doing this. And like you said, it's revolutionary that you've brought your voice to TikTok.
I was going to say that what we really need as far as education, you're saying we sort of have to educate ourselves, not only the non-Jews. It's interesting that the Arabs or the Jew hater are very, very passionate. You notice their passion on campuses? Why aren't Jews that passionate? We just don't have that attitude. It's that what we need.
We do.
Yeah,
I agree with
we
you.
need the passion the way they have. To them, to destroy us is almost a mission from Allah. It's a mission.
Yeah.
That's why they can do it.
Yeah.
And we don't have that passion. So that I think that we have to instill in our young people the passion for being Jewish.
Correct.
What it means.
I like that.
And what it means not to lose it. I mean, we did, like if we lose Israel or whatever happens, they have to know the consequences of it, so that they will be able to face this anti-Semitism with a fervor.
But I think we're only going to ignite that
fervor.
passion with good storytelling.
And so, Tova mentioned that she has commenters, she has people writing in. How do you measure success of things? What is sort of the feedback that you get? What are the ways in which you are engaging with the audience that is consuming all of this amazing content? I
mean, there's standard social media metrics of views, engagement, completion rate. We've been able to generate on some of these individual videos tens of millions of views. And look, the comments can be a scary place. At times they're very supportive, and at times they're disgusting. And we can get on a whole conversation about how social media platforms need to police hate and create trust and safety measures that support users and Jewish people, which I'm happy to have. But I think ultimately the more you can get content, pro-Jewish content, viewed, I think you can ignite that passion so that there is at least a fight back. And that's something that, like I said, has been a raison d'etre for a lot of what I've tried to do at the company.
So Molly, I want to talk to you about humor. Because these are serious, these are heavy, these are weighty topics, but as we saw with that video that Hey Alma did with Alex Edelman, that was hilarious, right? And it reminds us that there are things that we can laugh about, we can celebrate, and again, feel really good about our tradition. So I guess I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how you, at Hey Alma and Kveller too, are taking sort of a lighter tack to certain issues when it's appropriate.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know if you know, but Jews and humor kind of have a long history.
What we do, it's how we cope.
And, I think I've been as you both have been talking, I've been thinking so much about how, we obviously take on important topics like anti-Semitism as well. We're actually producing a guide to anti-Semitism right now that I'm really excited about. That should hopefully launch soon.
You heard it here first.
Yes. And we have a guide to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that has proven to be incredibly helpful, especially in the past year. But I also feel like, I worry about, especially for younger Jews, if the only way that they are interacting with their Jewish identity is through the lens of anti-Semitism, I think there is a danger to getting really burnt out and really, I think there's a danger to their mental health and to feeling that passion, Tova, that you were talking about. And I think we also have to be able to celebrate the light things, the levity, the joy, and the humor. And so yeah, Hey Alma and Gefeller are both places where, like, in the same platform, you can find a very serious, informative article about an anti-Semitic trope or a personal essay from somebody who experienced anti-Semitism out in their lives. And then you can find, like, a really silly article about, like, I don't know, like tuba of pickup lines you can use, or like.
Can you give us an example?
No, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't. I have to, yeah. I'm recovering from a cold, so I'm not as sharp as I, ideally would be. But we also, I think, a big part of Hey Alma especially too, and Gefeller, is talking about pop culture. And to me, that's a really interesting space because it allows you to talk about humor and representations of Judaism and anti-Semitism in the ways that some of those representations come across. If you go to either of our websites right now, you can find approximately 22 articles about the new Hot Rabbi Netflix show. Nobody wants this. A lot of feelings, a lot of things to discuss. But like that's, like, in a way, yes, that's like a light, silly thing to, and kind of a necessary thing to, like, be able to, like, talk about a TV show, especially when the rest of the world feels so heavy. But it also then always drills down to, like, some real important truths about what it means to be a Jewish woman, or what it means to be, a modern Jew, or part of a, interfaith family or community. Like, there are real, I don't know, I'm thinking about, like, the chocolate on the vegetables. Like, I think that is going on a lot at what we're doing, where we're offering both something to laugh about and something to think about.
So, Molly, tell us about sort of, as you mentioned, your sites run the gamut of coverage. So what are some of sort of the criteria that you look at when you're deciding if something is fit to run on the site, and then, of course, on social media?
Sure. I think with both Hey Alma and Gefeller, we are either looking for something that a lot of people will relate to and feel seen by. So, like, oh yes, like somebody else has had this experience where, my college scheduled orientation on Rosh Hashanah, or something like that. And then they can kind of commiserate or learn how other people dealt with similar issues. Or on the other hand, it's something like totally unrelatable that kind of opens your eyes to how diverse the Jewish community really is. Something we think about a lot on Hey Alma is, like I said earlier, creating this radically inclusive community. So we highlight a lot of voices that are marginalized, not even just within larger society, but within Jewish society as well. So that could be Jews of color, or patrilineal Jews who maybe have been told you're not really Jewish because only your dad is Jewish, or people from different socioeconomic classes, people who maybe don't always feel like they are represented by mainstream Jewish organizations or by representation in pop culture, and you have an interesting story to tell that other Jews can also learn from. So we've, run essays from people all over the world. We've run, what it's like to grow up in, like, super Mormon part of Utah, things like that, or what it's like to be Jewish in Uganda. So I kind of view it as either, like, it's something that, like, a lot of us can relate to, or a lot of us can learn a lot from.
I love that. Tova, I feel like you wanted to say something.
No, I just,
Go.
I'm going to start reading the magazine.
Yeah. Follow them on Instagram. You can swipe through.
I just found that very often non-Jews don't know us.
Yep.
And I think that's where the hatred and fear comes from, the other. You just don't know us. For an example, I and my daughter and my grandson, we went to Africa to talk about anti-Semitism and so forth, and we told people we were kosher. Well, some of them were Americans because they came with us. Nobody understood, and they're New Yorkers. They didn't understand what being kosher is. And so we were very strange. They gave us a separate house and a cook to make sure it's kosher. And every morning she said, "Can I make you eggs? Is that kosher?" I said, "Yes." "Could I give you an apple?" "Yes." Can I give you this piece of bread? I tried to explain about kosher. It was what I'm saying in general.
Yeah.
I think that most of those who are anti-Semites don't know what Zionism is, but they're anti-Zionism. We're not doing a good job in teaching who we are. And I think that's what I try to do, that I'm a person, a mother, a grandmother, that I have more in common with the rest of the world as a human being, that we're more alike than we're different.
I also think it is physically impossible to hate you. So like once all these people are seeing you, how can
Exactly.
you hate Jews? We have Tova.
Exactly.
So thank you.
And I think that's a problem, is that, well, I heard stories, never happened to me, about some people think we have horns. That sort of, either it's a mythology, but we, for some reason, were unable to give the rest of the world a real picture of us, who we are.
Yes.
And I think the more we're able and capable of doing it, which way, humor or the articles or anything, there will be less of a distance, and maybe we can somehow. The anti-Semitism is fear. Anti-Semitism is not only hatred; it's fear of who we are.
So I want to ask all of you, is there like a story you've always wanted to do, or a piece you've always wanted to run, or like something you've always wanted to talk about that you just like haven't gotten to yet, or that's like the sort of like the white whale out there? Matthew?
I mean,
Off the record.
sure. I think that something that we're working on in a few different capacities at the moment is just helping better tell the story and make the case for Israel.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people probably in this room who are nervous about the future of Israel. And I think Israel really needs good storytelling and help. It's almost a cliche at this point that Israel needs help with PR. But the truth is, Israel has to define its reason for being in a incredibly effective, compelling, emotional, maybe at times
Yeah, that's true.
lighter way, but it's a deeply personal story for the Jewish people. And I think something that a lot of people don't understand is that when the Jewish people have a special connection to Israel. There was just a piece that Dara Horn put out yesterday that said 80% of all Jews in the United States of America have strong support for Israel. And so when you criticize Israel, you're hurting the Jewish people in a certain way, because it's a part of us. It's a part of who we are. And I think helping non-Jews understand that story needs really creative approaches. And that's something we're working on and we're iterating on in different ways to help make that case. So it's going to require repetition. It's not like one video can change public perception on a mass scale. You have to have repetition, 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 and a huge degree of volume. And so that's what we all have to try in our various ways through our different platforms. My company works with a lot of celebrities and creators. We're leveraging them and asking them to step up to the plate. And hopefully it'll make a difference. But the moral case for Israel is essential. And that's something we're going to focus on a lot and are focused on.
I feel like you should be like doing that right now. Like I'm glad you're on this panel, but right after, just
no,
start doing
I'm
that.
going right back. Like after dinner, I'm going to get on that. My colleagues here know. Yeah.
Molly?
Yeah, I mean, I think like my first, because of this week maybe and this year we've had, I think it's not necessarily a story I haven't been able to do yet, but I think I'm interested in how October 7th and the past year and the ongoing war has affected people's relationship to Judaism and Jewish identity. And like, I think as a Jewish publication too, I'm interested in holding a mirror up to what that really looks like. And like, I won't sugarcoat it. Like the comments, the readers of Hey Alma, like they're not all aligned and they're not all united in this one unified feeling of feeling 100% this or that. It's really, really divided. It's been a really difficult, challenging year because of that. Of course, also reading the comments isn't maybe the best way to gauge where an audience is at, as anyone knows. Like, people who comment might be the most fired up and extreme, as opposed to the people more quietly taking in the content. But I do think that there is going to be an ongoing look at how these events have shaped the Jewish community, and especially the younger generation of Jews. And I'm curious to really kind of hold a mirror up to that and show what that looks like in many different ways, because I don't think it's all one story that's happening right now.
So we actually have a surprise for everyone here tonight. We have someone with us in this very room who is one of my favorite follows online, Kosha Dills. Who knows who Kosha Dills is? Look, oh wow, okay, you found your people.
Wow.
You found your people. He's here, and we got him a microphone.
Perfect.
And we just wanted to ask him a question, since we knew he was coming here.
Yeah.
Do you want to say hi?
I do.
Rami?
Hello,
Introduce
everyone.
yourself?
Hi, my name is Rami Matan Evanesh. It's my real name.
But what do you go by online?
And I go by Kosha Dills. Jewish rapper, actor, on a TV show called Wild 'N Out, and yeah, I live in New York.
So, it is interesting because your name, your handle, your name comes up at a lot of these conversations. You're a really, really vocal, loud Jew online. And I guess, I wanted to, since you're here and now you're holding a mic, what has this journey been like for you? Because you were always, your rap name was always Kosha Dills, but you seem to have really embraced it in the past, at least year, but definitely more than that. So I want to know, for you, how do you navigate this universe as sort of a public figure who is also, a rapper?
Well, it's a great question, because to know what my year's been like, my name is Rami. So growing up my whole life, people asked me if I was from Lebanon, if I was Palestinian, and I realized that I could kind of cosplay as either one when people would ask me. So I took the name Kosha Dills in 2005 because I wanted to make a strong Jewish character statement so people would know, oh, that's the Jewish rapper. And I wasn't really always proud of my Jewishness. So I sort of grew into it as I became more popular. And this year, I was putting out music. On October 7th, I released a song. And the song did 100,000. It was called Bring the Family Home. But then we linked together and made some videos and started going to Columbia University. And then I put that song and made my own little TV show on Instagram and TikTok. And then next thing you know, everyone really found out who I was from asking people what they thought of Jewish people.
And so, for you as a Jewish rapper to suddenly be tackling much more serious issues, what has that been like?
Well, it's interesting because I follow Hey Alma a lot, and I really love the lighthearted approach. If anyone asked me what kind of rap music I make, I called it user-friendly rap music. Like Tova likes it, parents like it. I'm in a lot of WhatsApp family group chats. Have you seen this Jewish rapper? And it got a chance to show, I come from a really dark background of jails, addiction, incarceration, and then I'm out here doing interviews, and people I got a chance to tell my personal story by sticking up for Jewish people. And, where I'm at now currently is I saw what was right in the first month of this conflict in October and November, but a year later, my entire approach has changed, really focusing on coexisting content and not happy-go-lucky coexisting content with people that are put in the spotlight, people I completely disagree with but can exist with. I think people exist with people in their own homes and live with them for years and they don't like them. I'm trying to take that approach with the conflict and always thinking of creative ways, whether it's a picture of a bagel from a very famous thing. There was a famous process that says you can't if you like bagels, you can't hate Jews, and it was a really viral post a few years ago, to, tackling issues with, Syrian Palestinians or, the black Jews, the Hebrew Israelites of Dimona, and interviewing them and their status, and transgendered for Israel, and all these different things that, repetition, and not all of them get a lot of views, and to keep doing it, and people lose interest, and it's really hard as a creator or the editor of your own stuff to keep going when people lose interest because people are exhausted. So I'm very intriguing to see how the panelists are taking on next year, because it's October 9th.
Yeah. So thank you, Rami, Kosha Dills. This is great because so Kosha, K-O-S-H-A-D-I-L-L-Z, a great follow. Who are some other people that you guys are following along with? Who should we be reading? You know, you mentioned Darrell Horn's great piece in The Atlantic this week. What are sort of the sources that you guys are going to, either for information or for levity, or just to learn about what's going on and keep up with your sort of Jewish identity and Jewish pride?
Well, I just finished.
I mean, Tova, obviously.
I just finished the book Israel, the most misunderstood country in the world.
The Noah Tishby book,
explains a lot of things to Jews by Noah
Noah
Shelby.
Tishby, yeah.
It's very simple, beautifully written, and it explains to both Jews and non-Jews who we are. I found a book like that. I think the newest books that come out right now, or the book that I didn't read yet, but it's on my list, A Conversation with a, what is it?
Difficult Conversations.
With a difficult
with a
Jew, something like that.
Yeah, the new Noah Tishby Emmanuel October.
Right.
Yeah.
There are a few books that are out right now that are very, very up to date in what's going on.
Who are your favorite people to follow?
What?
Like, who are you following on TikTok or?
Oh, well, I'm not a big TikTok person, you know. Who do I follow? Gidon. Gidon is a man that I met. He is older than I am, if that's possible, but he's older. And he is a Holocaust survivor. He's very funny. He dances on it's really, I used to follow him, and then the anti-Semitism was so terrible. He lives in Israel, and I met him. He came to New Jersey, and we met at somebody's house. And we had a wonderful afternoon. The anti-Semitism scared him, so he left for about a year, and he just came back.
Wow.
So, and I used to follow Dov, the Englishman. I don't follow anybody, you know.
I love that. Well, we all follow you, so that's all we need. All right.
I just want to say one quick thing, which 2 days ago I was at at Times Square, where they had a rally and a memorial to October 7th. And then everybody was chanting, "Bring them home, bring them home." A couple was passing right near me, probably not Jewish, but where I was standing, and one said to the other, "Bring home what? What are they talking? What are they bringing home?"
Wow.
And I said to myself, we're not doing enough PR. It was so typical, you know.
Agreed.
Give us some recs.
Well, so I'll start with a fun account I follow.
Yes.
I like there's this meme account, Neurotic Jewish Gay. It's very funny. Some of you might follow it. But you know, I think in terms of thought leadership, I read a lot. I just read Israel Alone, which is Bernard Henry Levy's book that just came out, which is fantastic. And I read my friend Ambassador Michael Oren in The Atlantic yesterday. He was great. I love the Free Press and a lot of the work Barry Weiss is doing and reporting on. And then I love what Noah's doing on Instagram and going live. And
Noah Tishby.
Yeah, excuse me, what Noah Tishby's doing. And, you know, and then I think it's important to hear voices from Israel too. So, you know, I try to pay attention to what people, you know, like my friend Avi, who is a journalist in Israel, I follow him and get a lot of insight from him as well.
Molly?
For humor, my mind jumps to Jewish Memes Only, which is an account run by a woman named Shoshana Gottlieb, who is very, very funny. She's written for Hey Alma. Actually, Shoshana wrote the Tuba of Pickup Lines article.
So she
if
would
you
know
want
what they
a pickup
are.
line, you go to Shoshana. But yeah, she is just like consistently hilarious. She does, she's well known for her like red carpet memes where she kind of takes a celebrity and figures out like which Jewish object they look like a kiddish cup or something. I love Bess Kalb, who is a comedian and writer, and I think doing really interesting things on her Substack, where she actually writes very personal stuff about what it's like to be a Jewish mother right now, and to kind of, care so deeply for Jews around the world, and also care for everybody who's being, affected by the war, and then also just like does very funny impressions of her Jewish grandmother and things like that. And yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I find myself turning to like, I don't want to say unknown or like no-name writers. The people that I work with are mostly not professional writers. They are young people just like who have a story to share, and that's probably my favorite part of the job, is just finding those people who haven't had a platform yet, who we can give that platform to and help share their story. So I learn a lot from them too.
So my last question is for all of you. As Rami mentioned, we're in this now, right? This all what we're dealing with, what we're talking about, it's not going away anytime soon, despite all of our best efforts. It may go away, hopefully. But as we get into year 2, right? As we go into an election season, as we sort of deal with the world around us, could you sort of give us like a little bit of a pep talk? We're all online, we're all reading, we're all liking, we're all consuming. You guys are in it. How do you sort of, stay inspired, stay committed to the work, and how can we all do that as, mere mortals with our like uncheck mark accounts on social media?
Well, first of all, I am shocked, I guess pleasantly, how important social media is. At first I thought they were just nosy things that shouldn't be written in public. And now I'm addicted to it. I see the influence, and I think that people have to realize they do count. That's something I never realized. But you count only if somebody knows about you. I mean, if you sit home and read a book and not go any place, well, who cares really? But if you're up there, like these people writing and reading, and somehow by accident myself, and is an accident, I just want to tell you, I'm shocked the influence that simple people can have if they're out there and they have something to say, and let them say it. I mean, I went to a party of influencers. I was shocked that I was invited, But I met very wonderful young people who are just out there making their opinions count. And it was very inspiring because they were all, well, these happened to be all Jewish, and it was all for Jewish causes. And that's what we have to do. And that's what we have to tell the young generation. You think you don't count? You do. But you have to be out there.
I love that. Matthew?
I'll close as concisely as I open and say, Tova gives me hope.
All right, Molly?
This is you said there was not going to be any challenging questions, but giving a pep talk
I just want
to this
inspiration.
moment.
I want something.
Honestly, this might be controversial for this digital storytelling panel, but I know when I feel very overwhelmed by the work that we're doing and seeing the comments and the fighting and that happening online, going offline is a wonderful balm, and having conversations in person with real people who are sitting next to you and you see their face, and those conversations always go a lot better than the ones that I'm having in my head with the commenters on Instagram. So I think, stepping offline when you need to and taking care of yourself is also
I love
a way.
that tepid applause for logging
Go
off
offline.
I think that is the perfect note to end on. I want to thank my 3 amazing panelists. I want to thank the Paley Center for having this conversation, being open to it, and just for all the work that they do. I want to thank all of you for all the work that you do. You give us hope and you keep us strong. And I want to thank all of you for being here with us tonight.